Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, permit me to take the House back to page 15. Going through the Business Committee, I know Honorable Mavis Howard comes in to be Mrs., but I think
page. You rise.
But the Honorable is sitting there.
Honorable, if you rise on a point of order, you look towards me, not to him. You rise on a point of order.
Right, Honorable Speaker,
You may proceed.
actually would want my good colleague to provide the evidence to
Order.
that effect that the previous government tried to shelve the report. So,
Order.
yes, so,
Honorable member, please proceed.
Right, Honorable Speaker, yes, I am rising here on point of order, and actually the reason is this, that I want to urge my colleague, if possible, to provide us with the evidence that the previous government really shelved the report that he's actually talking about, because we will want to have the evidence.
Honorable member, references to someone or the other shelving a report may go into motives, if you will kindly withdraw and proceed. Honorable. And that's,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
and that's the four. That's the four for chocolate affairs. We'll move to another angle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, I rise to associate myself with the statement being made by the Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture on the celebration of the National Chocolate Day. Mr. Speaker, even though this day, which is 14th April, which is February 14th or 14th April, 14th February. Mr. Speaker, on the occasion of Valentine's Day, which is observed globally, Mr. Speaker, I want to seize this opportunity to urge all Ghanaians to show love and compassion to the needy in our society. Mr. Speaker, occasion like this, you see people, instead of them to spend it with those who are in need of something, they will try to engage their close relation. They will try rather to commit themselves into spending with people they claim to be in close association. Mr. Speaker, I think we need to share the day with the less privileged in our society, the vulnerable ones, the needy ones, in order to show them that we care about their welfare. I am happy that even though the day has been set aside to show love and compassion, Mr. Speaker, we as a people have come to a consensus that instead of us to dwell on love affairs, should rather promote our locally cocoa products, and by so doing, we encourage others to enjoy cocoa products, which will go a long way to fetch us more money as a country. We know that cocoa will continue to be an anchor of our economy, but the fact of the matter is that, Mr. Speaker, on this occasion, people try to engage in amorous enterprises, which in effect will continue to lessen our moral fiber in terms of being religious state. Mr. Speaker, I want to entreat all Ghanaians that we need to demonstrate to those who are less privileged, to those who want to be appreciated based on where they find themselves, that they are all part of our society, and by so doing, we will continue to improve a lot as one people with a common destiny. Mr. Speaker, we need to seize this occasion to educate ourselves that when it comes to love, especially if you look at our social structure, talking about our political institution, politics is supposed to unite us than to divide us. Of course, they call me Collins because I was brought up from Christian home. Assuming I was brought up from Muslim home, rather I would be called Owusu. Mr. Speaker, politics is supposed to unite us than to divide us, in that even if you want to look into our various political parties, of course, if you look at New Patriotic Party, one could see that we have all walks of people within the party. Likewise, NDC. But there's this constitution that binds all of them as a political party. And, Mr. Speaker, with all the various constitutions that has been assigned to respective, political parties, we have the 1992 Republican Constitution, which supersedes all the other constitutions, and therefore, instead of us to see ourselves as we are dwelling on love, I love you because you are a Ghanaian, and that is our identity. It's not a matter of you being in NDC party or CPP
you conclude.
or NPP. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I think we as people should see ourselves that we are one, irrespective of your political persuasion or your religious standing. We should continue to know ourselves as being Ghanaians, and that is our true identity. And therefore, I want to charge all of us to see ourselves as loved ones. Mr. Speaker, I want to end here by saying that even though we are creating awareness to patronize our cocoa products, we should be mindful of the fact that without love, we will not even patronize our made in Ghana goods, which will go a long way to affect our sinking economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an impression has been created as if New Patriotic Party is not committed to develop our physical infrastructure. It's not the case. If you go through the budget, clearly you could see that Order 30F. Mr. Speaker, honorable member is misleading this August House in a submission. In that if you go through the budget, clearly you could see that the government is so devoted and so committed to develop infrastructure of this country to facilitate economic development. And Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I want to refer you to page 99 of the budget statement. Clearly, and artist has been captured, Ministry of Railways Development. You could see that the government is committed to develop central spine stretches from Kumasi to...
Your point is well made. I think that what interpretation people make of it, it should be left to them.
But Mr. Speaker, the point is that...
Can you resume your seat, please?
Thank you.
We should not use points of order to argue alternative points. I made this point. That's why I'm refusing to recognize people when they write. Because you're not pointing to any breach of any of the rules. You use the opportunity to argue your own point. And I think we should learn to use the points of order appropriately. I remember...
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I think my honorable good friend is misleading the whole House. In that,
Please,
the same page
Please.
he quoted.
please. You haven't told us why you are on your feet.
Order 92 1B.
You are on a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
92.
92 1B. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I read.
Yes, please.
When a point of order has been stated, the member interrupting shall resume his seat. And except by leave of Mr. Speaker, no other member shall rise until Mr. Speaker has decided the matter. When effect has been given to the decision, where necessary, the member who was speaking shall be entitled to proceed with his speech unless the decision prevents him.
Yes, when a point of order is raised, you haven't raised the point of order yet. So I want you to raise the point of order. And I see whether you are in order.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to draw the attention of the House that the honorable member is misleading with.
So which order gives you that authority to draw our attention that the honorable member is misleading the House?
Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your guidance on this particular. Respectfully, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, because definitely we are governed by rules. And it's part of my duty to enforce the rules so that we can maintain order. Because you have conflictual opinions, ideas, and perspectives. And so it's the orders that allow us to have meaningful debate.
Yes,
so
Mr.
when you stand on a point of order, you have to draw our attention to the order. And that's all what I want.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And when you say misleading, it doesn't give you that authority to raise a point of order. When a person is misleading the House, it doesn't give you that authority. If the person is deliberately misleading the House, because it's an issue of the state of mind, intention, it means that it will affect the image, the reputation of the House. And that is why it is put under contempt of Parliament.
And that is Order 30F.
Yes.
Good.
And the procedure is 31. And so when you raise that, I will ask you whether I should refer the matter to the Committee on Privileges, because that is not an issue of order that we should interrupt. But I can refer it to the Committee on Privileges to inform us whether what the person was doing was deliberately misleading the House. And if so found, there will be penal sanction. And the penal sanction can involve suspension of a member from the House. So they are there. There have been a lot of written authorities on these things.
Exactly so, Mr. Speaker. With your kind permission, would you allow me to proceed?
If you disagree with a member, kindly note down the point. When it's your turn, then you can articulate that. I listened to Honorable Dr. Apia Kubi. He spoke a lot on this issue. No, it was Honorable Ajay. Yes, he spoke a lot on these issues. He gave us different data from what the honorable member is also giving.
Mr.
So
Speaker.
I'm listening to him, and I will guide him and draw his attention to some of these things so that the House will have some understanding on the matter. So if he's deliberately misleading the House, I'll definitely sanction him.
Yes.
So may you resume your
He's
seat.
intentionally doing that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Records.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that this Honourable House adopt and also approve the sum of 871,222,971 for the services of the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the year ending 31st, 2017. Mr. Speaker, in line with the ministry's mission to ensure a sustainable transport sector responsible to the needs of our people, there is a need to pay special attention to this critical sector. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the report, I realized that the planned budget for the ministry is 5,975,928,630. But Mr. Speaker, when it was presented to the Ministry of Finance, the ministry accepted only 14% of the planned budget, which is 871,222,971 Ghana cedi. Even though the expenditure allocation to the ministry by this current government far exceed that of the previous government, Mr. Speaker, I think there is more room for improvement, since this particular ministry, when it is well resourced, go a long way to improve the economy and also the lot of our people. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I urge the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Roads and Transport on the 2017 annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that this Honorable House adopt and also approve the
Are
sum
you Honorable George Duka?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I urge this House to approve the sum of 59,392,362 for the services of Ministry of Aviation for the year ending 31st December 2017. Mr. Speaker, in line with the ministry vision to establish Ghana as the transportation hub within the West African sub-region, is a serious business, and I think it needs special attention. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the report, even though an expenditure allocation of 59,392,362 has been allocated to Ministry of Aviation, representing 0.11% of the national budget. Mr. Speaker, we know that air transport does not only make distance shorter, but it also facilitates social, economic, scientific, and cultural exchanges. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that over 54% of the international tourists now travel by air, and therefore there's a need to inject more resources so as to augment development within this particular industry. Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to Ministry of Finance that per the report, planned budget as against the approved ceiling by the Ministry of Finance with regard to assets, that the ministry planned for 6,069,400 cedis, but the approved ceiling by the Ministry of Finance was only 1 million cedis, with a variance percentage of 83.5%. Mr. Speaker, we can only improve this aviation industry by making sure that when it comes to aviation infrastructure development, it's capital intensive. And therefore, I'm only appealing to Ministry of Finance to, as it were, assist the industry to grow going forward. Mr. Speaker, we know that aviation industry, when well resourced, can employ and also generate a lot of jobs for our teeming unemployed youth. Aviation, with its associated economic activities, can also help to provide more opportunities for a lot of people to secure jobs. Mr. Speaker, in elsewhere and also in other jurisdictions, for instance, United States of America, which is the capital of the world, aviation industry contributes to gross domestic product of almost 5% on an average. Mr. Speaker, we need to
Honourable member, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I'm appealing to.
Honourable members, is concluding. Why are you on your feet?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our colleague has just made a statement, and this is a house of records. He said America, United States of America, is the capital of the world. He has kids around. He has to let the whole world know that, yes, indeed, America is the capital of the world. For me, I don't even know that America is the capital of the world. So if my brother can
So, Mr. Speaker, if not America, which country is the capital of the world? You can. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member, did you actually say that America is the capital of the world?
Exactly so, Mr. Speaker. This is a research. It's a research work.
Your
Mr.
evidence
Speaker,
is that you did a research.
Can I continue? Yes.
You did a research.
Yes.
And the research revealed
Yes.
that America is the capital of the world.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I even challenged the research work, but it was established that indeed America is the capital of the world. Be it military might.
It was established by who? It was established by who?
Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking to a particular subject, and now the subject under discussion is aviation industry. And when you get to United States of America, air transport is the dominant mode of transportation. It's true. It's true. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, by the research finding, it was established
Address
that,
the chair.
that when
Address
it comes
the
to,
chair.
that when it comes to,
Please, address the chair.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, my colleagues on the other side, I think they are doing well in opposition more than when they were in government. So they should allow me to. make my point. So, Mr. Speaker, America still remains as the aviation capital of the world.
Honorable member,
So,
please, honorable member, you need to do your research again as to the aviation capital of the world. I doubt that is America. So you need to do your research again and come back with the... I will not tell you, but you do the research, since you are a researcher. But
thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've already reiterated, I even challenge the findings, like as you are saying. So we all share the same position on the report as to whether America still remains as the aviation capital of the world. So, Mr. Speaker, I share the same position.
actually, you have succeeded in drawing the speaker into the debate. So please conclude.
So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to appeal to the Economic Regulation Agency of Ghana Civil Aviation that, in line with NPP's government manifesto, to reduce VAT rate of 17.5% to 3%. Economic Regulation Agency of Ghana Civil Aviation is the regulatory body, and therefore we are expecting the airlines to factor the reduction into consideration by making sure that airfares are being reduced drastically. And I'm happy with indefatigable Minister for Aviation here. I think she will also work within her means to ensure that proper thing is done at the Ghana aviation industry. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Member, your time is up. Your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, yes,
Please,
in concluding.
resume your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that this Honorable House adopt and also approves the sum of 518,426,135 cedis for the services of the Ministry of Railways Development for the year ending 31st December 2017. Mr. Speaker, in line with the overriding goal of the ministry to establish Ghana as a transport hub within the West African sub-region, there is a need to support the ministry as well as the two major agencies under it to execute its programs and policies. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer you to your committee's report on page 3, item 5.1. Mr. Speaker, it is on record that the NDC government, through its 2016 budget statement, allocated only 10,601,778 to the two agencies under this newly created ministry. But the current government, under the able leadership of His Excellency Nana Amankwah Akufo-Addo, has allocated a close amount of 580,426,135 Ghana cedi to enable the ministry to execute its programs. and activities. Mr. Speaker, with this, I want to seize the opportunity to praise His Excellency for giving this special attention to such critical ministry. And I believe that with the Ministry of Railway Development, if well resourced, will go a long way to generate a lot of employment to our teeming unemployed youth. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you. And I urge the House to support the sum of 518,426,135 Ghana cedi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Motion that this Honorable House adopt the 8th report of the Appointments Committee on the President nomination for ministerial and deputy ministerial appointment. Mr. Speaker, in so doing, I want to commend the Appointment Committee for obtaining confidential report on the nominees from the security agencies, which clearly indicates that, indeed, the respective nominees are innocent as far as the laws of the land is concerned. Mr. Speaker, the nominees did justice to the questions posed by the vetting committee in the lives of Honorable Asare-Menyah Safo, who happens to be a Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Brian Echampong, Honorable Abna Osei Asare, Honorable Kwaku Oten, Kwaku Kwantin,
yes, Honorable Member.
Honorable Henry Kote.
Your leader is on his feet. Please.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member on his feet, the member for Manhyia North, in describing the deputy majority leader, is saying that she happens to be the deputy majority leader. Mr. Speaker, she doesn't happen to be. She is. Mr. Speaker, grammatically, a person happens to have attained a position. It means she is there by accident, by happenstance. It is not like that. It's meritorious. So she is the deputy majority leader. She doesn't happen to be a deputy majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader, thanks for your kind direction. And I do apologize to my deputy majority leader. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Asare-Menyah Safo has a strong background in public procurement, having obtained an LLB in government procurement law from George Washington University. Mr. Speaker, quickly on Honorable Bright Echampong. He possesses a good communication skills, and Mr. Speaker, this has made him a better negotiator and also a conflict manager. And I have a strong conviction that he will deliver to our satisfaction. Mr. Speaker, quickly on Honorable Abna Osei Asare.
Honorable Ablakwa.
Very intelligent.
Why are you on your feet?
Smart.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member has to take his time. He says that the Honorable Ajasafu has an LLB in procurement. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's an LLM, not an LLB.
That's what I say.
Just take your time. You are rushing to Manhyia. Take your time.
Mr. Speaker, I said LLM. So next time, no. That's what I said. So, Mr. Speaker.
Actually, honorable member, I heard LLB.
That's what you said. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I should withdraw.
Please, You go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Abna Osei Asare, Minister Designate for Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, is a very smart, intelligent, energetic, and very proactive
Honorable member, in conclusion,
young woman who has clearly demonstrated that indeed she is capable of delivering to our satisfaction, and also he has also shown that he is so committed in partnering with the substantive minister to resuscitate this economy that we find ourselves. And also, Mr. Speaker, Honorable William Oreku Edu.
honorable members, I now put the question.
Honorable Minister, hold on, let me listen to the leadership and then, so Honorable Collins Amankwah, today you are sitting at the leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this unique promotion. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the statement ably made by my colleague member of Parliament for Bosome Frehon. Mr. Speaker, it is an uncontestable fact that Mr. Speaker, it is an uncontestable fact that no matter where you live in this country, we all have a common challenge. And the challenge here is that our roads are in a very deplorable state. Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that construction of proper roads are very key to our survival even as citizens. But Mr. Speaker, we were made to believe, especially prior to the 2016 general elections, that former President John Mahama's government has been able to construct almost 80% of our roads in this country. But here we are lamenting that each constituency.
Honorable member, statements, you don't invite controversy, please.
No, Mr. Speaker, I listened to some of the comments from the other side. And I want to correct it that even Manhyia was significantly neglected in terms of roads distribution by the NDC government. But, Mr. Speaker, going forward, I have a strong belief that the current government is so committed to ensure that we improve our road sector in this country. And I share the same sentiment with the maker of the statement. Indeed, she touched on some of the critical sectors that is key to our survival. And we can only appeal to the government that we need to improve our infrastructure development in order to improve the loss of our people. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable Minority Leader. Honorable member for Manhyia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I strongly oppose the proposed amendment by Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi Bedra, in that if it is made to stand, it will be inconsistent with clause 1. Mr. Speaker, I think the definition is clear when it comes to private act, that it is specific, it deals with specific matter, not open-ended. It provides a particular event. The law also provides for conditions for ending it. And I wonder why we are belaboring on this particular subject matter. The provision is clear, and going by the memorandum, Mr. Speaker, with your kind guidance, I want to read. The memorandum, paragraph 3. The bill, with the sole objective of catering adequately for the widow of the late officer until she remarries, and catering adequately for the children of the late officer. Would therefore ensure that all the monies intended for the welfare and the upkeep generally, and particularly the education of the infant children of the late officer, are properly administered by a board of trustees who have a fiduciary relationship with the beneficiaries of the fund and the Republic of Ghana. So any condition fulfilled here, it ends the matter. So, Mr. Speaker, I think if it is made to stay, it will be inconsistent. It contravenes clause 1 of the bill. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's important to put on record that I have the largest Zongo community within Kumasi Metropolis, and that is Moshi Zongo. Even the whole of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, going by the current
what is the population? What is the population of the Moshi Zongo? Yes.
Over 56,000.
What are the populations of the other Zongos?
Mr. Speaker, I can speak for myself. We have over 56,000.
I'm asking you because of your earlier statement. That is the largest Zongo community in the country.
Mr. Speaker,
now
that is on record, and it has not been disproven. So I'll go by the statistics as it stands now.
Where?
That Moshi Zongo is the single largest Zongo community within Kumasi Metropolis.
Where is your source? I said source. Please, you may proceed. You may proceed.
No, it was based on situational analysis. Yeah, by Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, going by the current rendition, that Zongo community means a heterogeneous community comprising various ethnic groups with different religions, where A, the predominant religion is Islam, B, the predominant language is Hausa, and the community is characterized by poor living conditions. I think we should maintain the current rendition, but I have to make an amendment. And the further amendment would be that we delete B, in that when we say predominant language is Hausa, Hausa is not an official language of this country. So giving any premium to this particular language means we are making it as an official language, which we are making it as an official language, which per Mr. Speaker, I think the definition is very simple. We are talking about Zongo, and Zongo is an Hausa word.
Honorable Member, read Order 47. Order 47. Yes.
I want to read.
Yes.
Order 47. The proceedings of Parliament shall ordinarily be conducted in the English language, except that a member may exercise the option to address the House in either Akan, Nzema, Ga, Ebe, Dagbani, Dagari.
Honorable Member, I preceded your name with honorable. And so you have to behave honorably.
Mr. Speaker, I read. Akan, Nzema, Ga, Ebe, Hausa, Tagbani, Dagari, or in any other local language, provided facilities exist in the house for its interpretation.
So Hausa is what?
So, Mr. Speaker, but this does not legitimize Hausa as an official language of this country, even though per the standing orders it is being provided.
Honorable
Speaker, I want to move on by saying that we are talking about Zongo. A Zongo is an Hausa word, which means travelers camp or stopover. And of course, it was used by the colonial officials. So, Mr. Speaker, I am of the considered view that once it has been defined, we should go by what is in the books, rather than making our own definition. We are talking, or is in our status.
Please.
Yes.
Honorable
So,
member,
Mr.
please,
Speaker.
conclude.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I think we should go by the current rendition by making sure that we delete the B that is giving premium to the language Hausa, so that it becomes, Speaker, so that it becomes Zongo community means a heterogeneous community comprising various ethnic groups with different religions, where a predominant religion is Islam and the community is characterized by poor living conditions.
It's now the turn of Honorable Amankwah Collins Owusu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this unique opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that this Honorable House adopt 2018 budget statement and economic policy of the government of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the entire budget, I am more convinced, and I would like to point it out, that this budget, from archaeology to zoology, is embedded with innovative ideas, plans, and projects. Mr. Speaker, I was surprised and shocked after hearing from friends on the other side calling on the House to defer this budget, or as a matter of fact, the Minister for Defense, the Minister for Finance, must withdraw this budget from this House. Mr. Speaker, if this is their thinking, then they must as well be prepared to surrender their salaries. We are not going to pay them. In fact, they should be deprived of their gratuities. Mr. Speaker, I crave your indulgence for the records to be set straight, especially with issues which border on defense and security. Mr. Speaker, the current government has resolved to provide adequate resources to ensure that the security services are able to discharge their responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, it is in line with this budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is in line with the vision that a Juma budget made it clear. In 2018, the Ghana Police Service will improve police people ratio by recruiting additional 4,000 personnel. Mr. Speaker, the question is, do we have enough police officers in this country? I'm afraid the answer is no. This is because, according to internationally accepted standards, there should be about 260 police officers for every 100,000 people. But, Mr. Speaker, in Ghana, the current statistics suggest that we have only 125 police for every 100,000 population. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly, Mr. Speaker, I derive my source from Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative 2017 report. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly excited that His Excellency Nana Amankwah Akufo-Addo's government is so committed to do justice to the issue of police-people ratio with the UN ratio 1:500 police to civilian. Mr. Speaker, permit me to seize this opportunity to make a passionate appeal to Ghana Police Service to consider more women in the service, as the current picture depicts that we have less than 6% of women that are in the service. Mr. Speaker, the NPP government, through Ghana Police Service, will expand community policing program through training of about 36,000 community police officers, as is being captured by the 2018 budget statement. Mr. Speaker, this is on page 134, paragraph 75 of the 2018 budget statement. Mr. Speaker, on page 94, paragraph 45 of the Coordinated Program of Economic and Social Development Policies 2017 to 2024. Mr. Speaker, the NPP government recognizes public safety and security as the central to peace and stability, sine qua non national development. Mr. Speaker, the current government is to continue to improve public safety and security by transforming security services into world-class institutions with modern infrastructure, including accommodation, health and training facilities. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend my own government. Through the Ghana Fire Service for intensifying fire prevention and safety education. Mr. Speaker, this year, the service organized 3 fire prevention education in various languages on radio and television stations and trained about 842 fire volunteers drawn from Ashanti, Upper West, and Bruhafo on rural fires. Mr. Speaker, according to our able finance minister, the government has indicated to put up an ultra-modern fire college and residential accommodation for personnel and standard fire station in the various districts. Mr. Speaker, as we have pledged in our manifesto to improve the living condition of our security officers, as I speak now, we have paid their rent allowances. And this is a big boost to motivate and also to make sure that they contribute their quota to the development of this country. Mr. Speaker, as we have also promised in our manifesto, that the NPP government will not relent in our effort to provide the armed forces with adequate and modern resources to enable them to discharge their core function of protecting or defending the territorial integrity of this country. Mr. Speaker, the government has increased peacekeepers' allowances from $31 to $35 and paid them at location and not after months they have returned. Mr. Speaker, this is a working government. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to adjusting upwards the allowances in line with the new increment by the United Nations. Mr. Speaker, it is on record that under the able leadership of His Excellency John Ejekum Kufuor, that MPP government increased troop contribution allowance normally paid to the soldiers from $16 to $27, an increase of about 69%. Mr. Speaker, I remember one day a friend in the Ghana Armed Forces told me that, Honorable, your soldiers are the backbone of your work. Treat them well. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not surprised that Nanado's government is treating Ghana Armed Forces very well. Mr. Speaker, I also really like the way our able Minister for Defense and his affable deputy, likewise a vibrant Minister for Interior and his deputy, are coordinating and working with the various security agencies in this country. Mr. Speaker, in our quest to mitigate the accommodation and the housing deficit, I want to commend the Ministry of Defense for reactivating the accommodation. Yes, I'm sure a minister in charge of Western House is also in the house. Mr. Speaker, I thank him. I thank him for allowing and also making sure that we reactivate the construction of the stored SNIT housing projects, and will continue in 2018 as being captured by the Ejuma budget. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of security in this country, I want to state it unequivocally, without shred of doubt, that, Mr. Speaker, Ghana is safe. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is pretty safe.
Honorable Member, conclude.
Mr. Speaker, the security services are working to ensure total sanity in the system. Yes, I agree that one or two incidents have happened, which some people have described as violent or an act of vigilantism. But, Mr. Speaker, that cannot be used as a yardstick to imply that Ghana is not safe. Once again, Ghana is safe. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is safe under His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Chairman for the National Security Council, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Even though African face...
Last word.
Mr. Speaker, in concluding, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Member,
even though African...
Thank you very much. Your time is up.
I'm so grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Chief Whip. Oh, hold on. There's another person. Honorable Member for Manhyia North, my MP.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my concern has to do with the fact that our colleagues on the other side would want to politicize everything, including matters that border on security. Mr. Speaker, security is very key to our survival as citizens, and therefore it should be of paramount to all of us. But for a whole member of Parliament, Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa, to have come out alleging that we have recruited a group which is largely perceived to be affiliated. No,
We as Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, we as Parliament.
Honorable Members,
Mr. Speaker,
order.
This is a very dangerous statement.
What statement?
That we as Parliament.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I was consulting with the clerk, so what statement are you saying is dangerous?
No, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is, it's a serious matter for our colleagues on the other side to have raised a concern that we as Parliament have gone out to recruit a vigilante group to man security here. And I think we must address it once and for all, especially when they are on radio making lifeless propaganda as if Parliament cannot beef up security internally. So they should provide names. And we are daring them to pinpoint any member.
Honorable Member, let your address be parliamentarian. Your language.
Yes, we want them to
parliamentary.
use parliamentary language.
You address members as members of the other side, our colleagues, them and they, and so on, is unparliamentary. Please use the appropriate parliamentary language.
Respectfully, we are taking cue from what you've just said. But the point is, we want them to provide names based on the allegations they've raised.
We want our colleague from the other side to provide names.
Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my concern has to do with the debate on the message of the State of the Nation's address. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the time allotments for members, I think time allotted to other members is woefully inadequate. 8 minutes to make an informed contribution is something that I want to appeal to leadership to effect some changes by making it to 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable Majority Leadership. Majority Leader or Deputy. Honorable Member for Manhyia North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this unique.
The first Deputy Speaker will take the chair. Honorable, may continue.
Very grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, order. Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this unique opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that this Honorable House thanks His Excellency the President for the message on the State of the Nations delivered on Thursday, 8 February 2018. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I would like to commend His Excellency the President for touching on almost all the critical sectors within the social structure. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President took time to address the issue of unemployment. For me, this is one of the biggest legacies bequeathed to us by the previous NDC administration. Mr. Speaker, the President in his address made it clear that the government will equip youth with the needed skills in order to enable them to be more productive. Mr. Speaker, government has established Nations Builders Corps with a sole aim of employing 100,000 young people in this country. In this 2018 fiscal year, Mr. Speaker, His Excellency threw more light on the digital marketing and entrepreneurship program, which has already recruited 3,000 young unemployed youth in this country. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to bore this House with the strides we are making in the agri sector. Our local farmers are very happy with the Planting for Food and Jobs program. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of security, and here, Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking in my capacity as the Vice Chairman on Defense and Interior. Right. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the government total commitment is to ensure public safety and also to enhance security service delivery in this country is on course. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency has made a commitment of injecting a colossal amount of 800 million Ghana cedi, an equivalent of $176 million within the 6 months to equip Ghana Police Service.
Mr. Speaker, this is in line with Article 200 Clause 3 of the 1992 Republican Constitution. Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I want to quote. Mr. Speaker, I read, "The police service shall be equipped and maintained to perform its traditional role of maintaining law and order." Mr. Speaker, the government is so committed to make sure that we maximize security in this country. And therefore, there's a need to equip our security agencies with the needed support. Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that Ghana is safe, even though an erroneous impression has been created by the main opposition NDC party that we are in the state of insecurity, which is not the case. Mr. Speaker, I'm not interested in politics of equalization, but sometimes I'm being compared to analyze issues. Mr. Speaker, we are in this country when a mere delay of ministerial appointment called for bloodshed, and that was in 2012, when the current minority leader was the MP for Tamale South, and he's still the MP for Tamale South.
You made your point without referring to anybody.
Mr. Speaker,
from the reference and
Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the conclusion that his supporters besieged Tamale Metropolis, vandalized almost all state-owned enterprises, including National Health Insurance Office, DVLA, and also burned their own party office. Mr. Speaker, we were in this country 2009 when NDC youth beat their own regional minister for Upper West.
Hold on. Honorable member, hold on. Yes. Leader, are you sit very well?
Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, the member is making misleading statements. I'd be very grateful if he can furnish us with the sources of the copious examples he's attributing to the honorable member and minority leader for Tamale South. So,
Honorable member, I advise you to move away from making references to individuals. Honorable Majority Leader, I've understood, I advised him, move away from references to people and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. But I think the records are there. There was official publication by Graphic and also Ghanaian Times, which are all state-owned newspapers. Mr. Speaker, the opposition party wants to create a gloomy picture about this country as if all is not well with us, with the sole aim of driving away foreign investors from investing in our economy. Mr. Speaker, it's not appropriate to paint such an erroneous impression. Mr. Speaker, our noble committee received a delegation from Republic of South Africa, and to be specific, KwaZulu-Natal province. Their mission was very simple, that they are in this country to learn from our best practices in terms of combating crime, and also how best rule of law has become the order of the day. That was just about 2 months ago, Mr. Speaker. So, it will be very, very unfortunate for anybody to allude to the fact that, as a country, we are in the state of insecurity. That is not the case. Mr. Speaker, I want to state it categorically, without shred of any contradiction, that Ghana is pretty safe. Mr. Speaker, the record shows that crime rate has reduced as compared to the previous years. Mr. Speaker, if you go through the policy outcome indicators and targets by both Ministry of National Security a Ministry of Interior, it suggests that crime has reduced drastically in this current administration than compared to that of the previous administration. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that a peaceful country is one which has a well-functioning government. And Mr. Speaker, the NPP government, under the able leadership of His Excellency Nana Amankwah Akufo-Addo, is functioning very well. Mr. Speaker, it's important to emphasize on the point that the threats facing Africa, which include humanitarian crisis, violent extremism, terrorist financing, cross-border crime, and conflicts, are emerging and multiplying. But Mr. Speaker, even though they are compounded moreover by economic difficulties and climate change, I want to state it that with visionary president in the person of Nana Amankwah Akufo-Addo as the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, even though no country is immune to these threats, Ghana will survive, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are doing very well as a country. Of course, if you want to say Ghana is safe and our economy is doing well, our friends on the other side will challenge you. But facts are facts, as President pointed out, that you can't argue with facts. Statistics show that our external observers, including Bloomberg, all the credit rating agencies, Fitch, Standard & Poor, Moody's, have all credited Ghana that our economy is doing well. And therefore, Ghana has been ranked as one of the best destinations for investment in terms of stock exchange. Mr. Speaker, once again, Ghana is working. Ghana is working. And we strongly believe that with the commitment by the current administration, this country will work to benefit. This country is ongoing. No, because we are not working as a result of mismanagement by the incompetent NDC administration. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that as a country, we should not colorize crime as the president told us that crime has no colorization. In that, under NDC, there were some acts of vigilantism which some people were killed under their own watch. We want to put it on record that even though it has been largely perceived that NPP or a vigilante group is aligned to a particular government or party, that cannot be used as a yardstick to imply that the government or the party in power support such acts, unlike what NDC did when they were in government. Mr. Speaker, Agbogloshi, experience is there for us to see people were killed.
Hold on. Yeah, the honorable leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you've guided my good friend on the other side not to toe on a certain path, but continuously he keeps on going on that path. Mr. Speaker, he categorically stated that under NDC there were vigilantism and certain people were killed. Mr. Speaker, I want him to bring evidence, else we expand that portion from the hangar. All I knew that under NDC, he himself was beaten by his Ashanti Regional Chairman. Chairman Wontumi, even Mr. Speaker, when that happened, Chairman Wontumi was arrested and detained. Mr. Speaker, we rescued him. If he doesn't know, I'm pointing it to him. He should bring facts, and I'm giving just one fact that happened. he himself was beaten up by Chamahun to me. When that happened, Mr. Speaker, we rescued him. Today you are insulting the very system that even rescued you from the hands of your own perpetrators. Mr. Speaker, this is just a single thing I want to point to him. And I knew this was one of the reasons why you were advising him not to go on that tangent. Because he's the only city, and he was a city MP. Here his own party men beat him, gave him very good slaps, and we rescued him. Mr. Speaker,
Yes, Honorable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Order 67. Mr. Speaker, the referrals that has been made to incidents that have occurred that has put this country in a state of insecurity that is being enumerated by the Honourable Member for Manhyia North. Mr. Speaker, these incidents were reported and were published. Mr. Speaker, and our rules are so clear that when things are available or information available in official publications, Mr. Speaker, any member has the right and has the basis to refer to such incidents. Mr. Speaker, unless we are saying that things that are reported in our newspapers, which is an emphasis of our freedom of speech, and for Ghanaians to be made in the know of incidents that happen, can no longer be referred to, then, Mr. Speaker, I don't see why state-owned press like Graphic and Times and all that still be allocated budgetary allocations. Mr. Speaker, if the Honourable Deputy Whip doesn't want the Honourable Member for Manhyia to go on that tangent, he could have said so. But, Mr. Speaker, we've also lived in this country and we've seen a president slap his vice president, and these were facts. Mr. Speaker, if he wants to go that tangent, we will also go that tangent. But, Mr. Speaker, there must be decorum in this house. But where referrals are made to persons who are honourable, Mr. Speaker, who are honourable, the Honourable Member for Manhyia is an honourable member of this house. And he stood up and make referrals to incidents that happen outside this house. Mr. Speaker, that is very okay. Mr. Speaker, that is very okay. But if he is saying today, Mr. Speaker, if he is saying today that the reports by the honourable member of such an incident to the police, the police, which is a state institution, is now an NDC institution. Mr. Speaker, because there is rule of law in the political party called NDP. That is why the honourable member got justice for something that was done to him that was not honourable. But, Mr. Speaker, he cannot be stopped from making referrals to things that have been reported in publications of this country.
There is one here.
And so he should be allowed to carry on. But if he wants to go that tangent, we will go that tangent. Mr. Speaker, on 9th of December, Mr. Speaker, on the 9th of December 2015, it is online, My Joy Online. NDC youth on rampage in Tamale. Mr. Speaker, is he fabricating all these stories? These were reported.
Yes.
And we have the proof. And we have these are official publications. So why can't the honourable member make referrals to say? Mr. Speaker, the honourable deputy whip should learn the rules. The rules allow him to make referrals when there are publications which are official. NDC MP slapped another NDC MP. We were in this country. We saw it.
In this house.
In this house. And it was also reported. NDC MP slapped another colleague MP within NDC. Yeah. We were in this house. And it was reported. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree with the Deputy Chief Whip to the extent that we shouldn't go that tangent. But when they are reported, we can make referrals to say. I thank you.
Honorable leaders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not asking you to talk. I'm saying that you have done your worst. The leaders. What more is there to say?
Mr. Speaker, just that the order she quoted was conditioned for admissibility of questions.
Please.
Even she was out of order from the onset. And I'm wondering why
Honorable
should we
leader,
allow him to
I'm not giving you the floor. Under Order 93(2). I heard what everybody said. I am giving my ruling. And I'm saying that under Order 93(2), personal allusions are forbidden in debate. As leaders, I've been guiding the honorable member on his feet to move away from making personal allusions. Now, it is because he continued that I admitted the objection. But in making the objection, he also fell into the same sin. Instead of directing the member on his feet onto the right path, you followed him onto the wrong path. And then that was followed by the deputy majority leader. So rather than helping, the leaders helping the speaker to guide the house and bring order, they joined in the fray. So all three of you are out of order. Personal allusions are specifically to be avoided. Please, this equalization thing, I recall the last time we had a debate on this matter here. For me, it should be points of shame for us as political groups, rather than point of reference, you did that, we did that. We should avoid discussion in this house by making references to crimes committed by either part of the political party. So please, let's avoid using those references. Honorable member, you have 1 minute, so please conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take a cue from your kind admonition. And Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that I wasn't slapped. And that was the reason why, and that was the reason why I decided not to pursue the case. That was the reason why we dropped the charges. And I want to put it on record. That's right. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Achampo and Honorable, please resume your seat. Honorable, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Truth hurts. So I'm not surprised that my friends on the other side were on their feet, creating tension here. Mr. Speaker, as a country, we are doing very well. And it behooves on all of us to rally behind such a visionary president so that together we create an environment that will maximize our welfare. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable members, that brings us to the conclusion of the contributions to the debate. To thank the President for today.
Oh, sorry, so ask the question. And I am inclined to oblige. Honorable, please ask the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask this question on behalf of Honorable Member for Manhyia North, Mr. Kwabena Amankwah Esiama, and I have his permission to ask this question. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways when the following roads will be rehabilitated. I, Miaso to Abu Abu. Amokrom, number 2 to Papra Mountain. Asare-Menyah to Asare-Menyah. Mpayem to Adakope.
Honorable, you are totally a stranger.
Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, let me take it again.
No, Honorable, we got you. Honorable Minister, you may please answer the question so that we are safe any further. You know what?
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Miaso Abu Abu Road is a 6.6 kilometer feeder road located in the Manhyia North District of the Eastern Region. It is an engineered gravel road in fair condition. Mr. Speaker, currently there is no major rehabilitation program on the road. The Department of Federal Roads has been undertaking routine maintenance activities on the road to keep it safe and motorable to vehicular traffic. Routine maintenance works, that is reshaping, for 2017 was carried out in January 2018 under the contract description reshaping of Adukrom, Brakum, and others, covering a distance of 50.3 kilometers, which is feeder road. Mr. Speaker, venturing into the future, engineering design studies will be carried out on the road during the third quarter of 2018 to determine the appropriate intervention for the road. 2. Amokrom number 2 to Papramantan feeder road, covering a distance of 8 kilometers. Mr. Speaker, the background is that Amokrom number 2 to Papramantan is 8-kilometer long road and located in the Manhyia North District of the Eastern Region. The section from kilometer 0 to kilometer 4.5 is gravel surfaced in fair condition. The remaining section from kilometer 4.5 to kilometer 8 is unengineered. Mr. Speaker, currently there is no major rehabilitation program on the road. However, the engineered section, that is from kilometer 0 to kilometer 4.5, is programmed for routine maintenance. That is reshaping in 2018, this year. The future program is that, Mr. Speaker, engineering design studies will be carried out on the road during the third quarter of 2018 to determine the appropriate intervention for the road. The third road, Asare-Menyah to Asare-Menyah feeder road, covering a distance of 4.5 kilometers. The background is that Asare-Menyah Asare-Menyah road is 4.5 kilometers long and located in the Manhyia North District of the Eastern Region. It is an earth surface road in poor condition. Currently, Mr. Speaker, there is no major rehabilitation program on the road. But moving into the future, the program is that engineering design studies will be carried out on the road during the third quarter of this year, 2018, to determine the appropriate intervention when funds are available. 4, Mpam Adakope Feeder Road, covering a distance of 5.5 kilometers. The background is that Mpam Adakope Road is 5.5 kilometers long and located in the Manhyia North District of the Eastern Region. It is an surface road in poor condition. The current program is that there is no major rehabilitation program on the road. But moving into the future, Mr. Speaker, engineering design studies will be carried out on the road during the third quarter of 2018, that is this year, to determine the appropriate intervention when funds are available. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you say there is no major rehabilitation program on the road, and however, the engineer section, that is kilometer 0.0 to 4.5 is programmed for routine maintenance, reshaping in 2018. Where exactly would the program be run? When you say 2018, I want time specific.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what it means is that contract has been awarded, and if that is done, it requires that contractors will mobilize to site to begin work. And all programs are based on annual basis. So we have a program as a ministry for 2018, and it's part of it. So once it has been awarded and the contractor is mobilizing to site, the exact timing will depend upon when the contractor actually moves to site. But I can assure the honorable member that we follow these processes meticulously, and it will be done on schedule. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.